Hello and welcome back to Northern Lights. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after meeting Devon, who is a Doberman, who has aspirations to become a chef, and then being taken to the national park by Aldrich in order to experience some of what Aspen Hollow has to offer. The national park being Split Peak National Park. The first thing that you noticed is that Aldrich seems to be very at home in the national park. You know, probably because he wants to work there. I don't know. And he also took you to one of two places, which would be either the falls or Bannock Basin. I decided to pick the ghost town, which is Bannock Basin, because I honestly thought that was going to be like the horror option because supposedly it was haunted, but I guess not. It is the option that inspires Cody to do this whole little Western themed thing, which, I mean, may or may not influence some other stuff later on down the line. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, so if you wanted to see the Falls one, then you would have to play it yourself because I don't want to do it. Although the Falls one inspires something more horror themed, but like, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, we're about to see Aldrich's other little surprise, which, you know, here it is. Anyway, so yeah, let us continue. Leaning back into the seat, I watched the tree lines blur into darkness, peaks of the sky above showcasing a dazzling sea of stars. You'll see. After taking a turn off the main road onto a narrow dirt path, Aldrich momentarily parked the truck, hurrying out to open a gate that had been closing off the trail. After pulling through and closing the gate behind us, we were right onto a bumpy trail. It wasn't too bad at first, mostly felt like driving over a washboard. The deeper we went, the rockier it got, and the slower he had to drive to navigate the tricky terrain. By the time we reached the end, it was completely dark. The area was barely cleared out, just enough for a ranger truck to turn around and head back. Come on, it's close. Though I was a little tired from our hike earlier, his enthusiasm kept me motivated. The shepherd grabbed a cooler from the bed of the truck, as well as a lantern that he just lit. He led me into the woods. I think you'll like it. I fell in love with the park right here. Only just here? But everything I've seen is so beautiful. Exiting the thick tree line, I could just barely make out the silhouette of a towering structure not far ahead, easily 3 stories high. The lamplight did little to illuminate our path, as Aldrich led me up several flights of narrow, wooden stairs. I stayed here 1 week while I was in the middle of school. They had a junior ranger program. Ranger Thompson was assigned to this tower, and I've never heard anyone speak with such enthusiasm about the park before. As we reached the top, the lamplight shimmered off the windows of a small cabin surrounded entirely by a narrow, boarded catwalk. I made my way around to the far side, my jaw dropped. I'd only really gotten glimpses from the town, the park's namesake, the outline of a singular, though massive mountain, its peak looking as if it had been sliced open. The moonlight went through the sharp, jagged edges lining the 1,000-foot tear and got scattered into the faint rays that seemed to illuminate patches of the entire park. Aldrich stood beside me. He seemed to be watching my reaction, rather than staring out at the beauty of the night and the mountain. That was my reaction the first night, too. Split Peak, not really a clever name, but there's no other mountain like her. The shepherd set the lamp down on a tiny patio table, next to a metal folding chair, before leaning up against the railing, finally admiring the view, much as I was. It's like someone slit it open with a claw. See, that's what I tell everyone. The rangers reckon that it was some massive earthquake millions of years ago. Is that what you think? Sure, it makes the most sense, but you saw a piece of history of this place. Who's to say that it's not another moment of history lost to the unforgiving progress of time? I wrote a poem about it after my week here. Will you tell it to me? The shepherd's ears twitched, even flattening a little. He looked nervous in the face, but soon smiled. For you, anything. But first, Aldrich took a step back and leaned against the wall of the cabin, cupping his paw in front of him. Without hesitation, I stepped onto them, allowing him to boost me up onto the roof, and I took a seat on the edge, letting my legs hang down. He passed up the cooler and was quick to join me, sitting close as we watched the shimmering moonlight. Beneath the full moon's mystic light, Split Peak stands in grand display. Between the cracked walls, cryptic lore awaits. A portal to the night between the split, where shadows dance in pale moonlight. In moonlight's divinity, the mountain sings of ancient tales and hidden things. Split Peak's enchanting mystery is my dream, a place where secrets bloom. And in its hollowed depths, I'd find my soul's true home. Aldrich looked away nervously, rubbing the back of his head a bit. That's really beautiful, Aldrich. You think so? English teacher gave me a C for it. The shepherd chuckled awkwardly, opening the cooler to grab a couple of cans of soda for us. If I was your teacher, I'd given you an A. Thanks, Cody. Taking a sip of the frosty soda while happily staring off at the mountain was a rather refreshing break from our adventurous day. What do you think caused it? Do you want the movie reason or personal opinion? Personal. Tell me what you see, not what you want an audience to see. Looking up and down the length of the split, I watched the sky slowly growing darker as thick clouds moved in with a cold breeze. It's a witness mark. What's that? Say you were working on an engine, doesn't matter what kind, but you wanted to easily remember how far something is supposed to turn, where it should come to a stop. You make a little scratch in the metal, so you can easily remember. That's a witness mark, a little note left by someone that reminds them how something is supposed to go. The split in the mountain is a witness mark on a cosmic scale. The right spot for a piece in some complex machination that we can't even fathom the meaning of to be. That's a cool way of looking at it. I swung my legs on the ceiling, staring at the sky, appreciating the sight once more before turning to Aldrich. I keep thinking about that little ghost town that we went to. All the lives that it played host to. All these stories. Joy, sorrow, good fortune, bad tidings. Is that how you see most places? I see it more in the empty ones. The absence of light sticks to me, and I want to fill the void and bring it back. I want to film my next movie there. Been thinking about it, and I want to turn that little scene that we did into something. Aldrich smiled, glancing over at me, and I smiled back at the shepherd, who happened to have filled the role of a sheriff quite well. You gonna tell it from the sheriff's side or the gang? Everyone tells the hero's side. I want to explore the villain, Tanner. You want to be one of my actors? With your direction, I'll be glad to give it a try. Though you might want to talk to Charlotte May. She used to live in Bannock right before it ran dry. Whoa, she must be like 102. Most of the town got together last month for her birthday. She acts like she's still 20. A sudden roar of thunder pierced through the night, Aldrich glancing up at the now starless sky. Damn, really thought that storm was supposed to start later. Cody, we gotta stay the night here, alright? He spoke with a confident tone, filling out the role of a park ranger that he longed to be. I don't think that we'll have enough time to get back to the main road before the rain. It's a bad idea to take the trail during the storm, really prone to flash floods. Having to spend the night in the forest unplanned wasn't something that I was thrilled about, though Aldrich's clear knowledge about the potential dangers of the landscape was a small comfort. Okay, I guess. Where are we gonna sleep? Where do you think, silly? Aldrich patted the roof of the watchtower, and I glanced down at it. I had figured that we would have just slept in his truck for the night. All right. Only politeness kept me from asking if it'd be okay for just me to sleep in the truck. I figured there'd just be some small cot inside the tower. 2 people sharing it would be a tight fit. The shepherd hopped back down to the catwalk, and I passed the cooler down to him, dropping down alongside him afterwards. Just get comfy. I'll go grab a couple of things from the truck and get some wood. It was surprisingly homey inside the tower. Like a quaint one-room cabin at a campground, there was a small bed with an actual mattress, sheets, and a blanket neatly folded alongside 2 pillows at the foot. There was a simple wood stove, a compact old kitchen stove, probably hooked up to the propane outside, a large table in the middle holding a map of the forest, and several pairs of binoculars sitting on a shelf under it. Aldrich walked back in soon after, carrying a small bundle of wood under one arm and his hiking bag strapped to his back, along with a gallon jug of water. He set everything down in one corner, looking over to me standing stiff and awkward near the bed. Every minute I stood there was another reminder that I was going to share a bed with him. Worrying about what my pa would do if he found out, about what I would do if I couldn't keep my feelings in check. Aldrich knew that I was gay, but the thought of him ending our friendship if I looked at him in that light was nerve-wracking. Still unsure if he or anyone would ever really want a gay otter for a friend, one that couldn't go 30 seconds without eyeing him like a piece of meat. You all right? What? Yeah, right as rain. I watched as Aldrich took a few logs and stacked them carefully in the wood stove, stuffing it with some kindling to get a fire going and start warming the cabin up to fight off the increasingly colder night. The rain was picking up fast, a gentle roar outside the cabin steadily growing louder, further isolating us into space. Are you hungry? Yeah, actually. Didn't know hiking could take so much out of me. The shepherd fished around in the cooler while I remained frozen in the spot, afraid to bring up anything up now that we were, in fact, going to bunk down for the night. How about chili dogs? You packed that much just to go hiking? No, turkey dogs were on sale at the store, and I didn't want to go back out after we got back to town. Well, yeah, I'd love one. The shepherd smiled at me. As handsome as a canine was, something about the firelight always brought his looks to a whole another level. He set a small pan and a pot on top of the gas stove, grabbing a can of chili from his hiking pack and dumping the contents into the pot. Keep an eye on that, if you don't mind. Need to radio the base and let them know that we're hunkering down for the night. Stiffly, I walked over to the stove, grabbing a spoon to stir the pre-made chili, watching as the shepherd flipped on the radio. Tower 13 to base. Are you reading me? Over. 10-4, Tower. Wait, who is this? And why are you in 13? Over. It's Aldrich. Storm came in sooner than expected. Unsafe to take the trail back until morning. Just hunkering down for the night. Everything will be back in order. Over. All right, Aldrich. You got anyone with you? Over. Yeah, Cody. Friend of mine just moved to town. Over. Acknowledged and logged. Stay safe. There are supposed to be some fierce gusts tonight through the early AM hours. Over and out. Watching him talk on the radio like he'd been doing it for years already was strangely appealing, how he took on the role with such confidence. Even with Liam and Tobin cheering me on, I'd yet to feel that steady on my paws with my movie making. Oftentimes I wonder if it was just a hobby for me, rather than a true career goal. Man, you weren't kidding. You really are a ranger already. The shepherd smiled again, cutting open the package of turkey dogs, laying a few of them on the empty hot pan. All the rangers are really nice. Honestly, they'll take all the help that they can get. I know hiring is down and volunteers plummet after summer is over. They're probably glad to be able to do more or less train me without having to pay me for it yet. Free labor is hard to beat. I tilted my head and I mulled over what I just said, although my attention was increasingly drawn to the scent coming from the stove. You alright with them not paying you? The way I see it, I've got a job waiting for me, at a park that I love, full of future co-workers that I'm already familiar with. Sure, I don't get paid yet, but the money isn't why I want to work here. It's a lifestyle, the people, all the visitors, the nature, and the freedom. The shepherd chuckled a little, stirring the pot of chili as it warmed on the stove. He was looking over to the maps on the table in the middle of the room, a blissful smile on his face standing a few inches taller. When you put it like that, reckon it's nice knowing that it's here waiting for you. As Aldrich kept cooking dinner for us, I glanced over to the unmade bed again. It really wasn't meant for two people, but would work with a squeeze, slowly working up the courage to ask a stupid question. I... uh, I was just wondering, where should I sleep? What do you mean? The bed is right there. We can share it, no problem. My whiskers hung heavy, glancing at the floor, my gut twisting as I heard a faint voice in my head. I'm not supposed to share a bed, especially with another guy. What? Why? My pa said that if he ever caught me sharing a bed with a guy again, even my friends, he'd beat me bloody next time. Aldrich tensed up, that look of anger returning to his face, not at me, but at my father, and the way he'd raised me. Your dad isn't here, Cody. We're in the middle of the woods, thousands of miles away. You don't need to be scared of him. I know, but what if he finds out? Aldrich set a spatula down, walked over, and wrapped his arms around me, pulling me into a firm hug, his heartbeat strong in my ears. Listen, Cody. Even if your dad ever cared enough to come up here, whether to apologize or to try and punish you, I won't let you be alone in that moment, and I'm certainly not going to let that nutcase lay another finger on you. I'll knock his ass to the ground before he even has a chance. His fingers traced gentle circles over my back as he kept me close, the soft touch, the firm protective words, leading to a few tears rolling down my maw. Tobin and Liam always had my back growing up, but none of us had the strength to stop the punishments. Aldrich and I had only just rekindled our friendship, and it already sounded as if he was more than willing to go to jail if it meant saving me from my father. The only thing you have to worry about here is getting good grades in college. For everything else, we'll tackle it together, all right? I nodded gently, my head nudged up against his chest, not wanting to speak as I feared that he would hear my voice crack. Come on, let's get some food in our bellies. Aldrich stepped away and I hurried to dry my tears. I was still nervous about sharing a bed with him, but at least I felt safe, reminded once more that he wasn't going to let anything bad happen to me. After he plated up the chili dogs for us, Aldrich leaned back against the wall, and I took a seat in the only chair, my tail softly thumping as I happily enjoyed the warm, quick meal. I hope it's all right. I'm not much of a cook. It's wonderful. What matters most is the spirit put into the dish. I'm not sure how much spirit helps if you turn a whole chicken into a piece of charcoal. The shepherd chuckled softly, soon wiping his fingers clean, setting the empty plate on the counter. I'm gonna go take a leak. Can you make the bed up for us? I nodded and the shepherd wandered out of the cabin, keeping under the roof of the tower. My paws trembled as I fussed with the sheets, taking me 3 tries to actually get all the corners tucked, soon spreading out the blanket and the pillows. The door of the tower creaked as Aldrich walked back in. As soon as I turned to face him, my maw dropped. With his shirt off, the shepherd looked like an Adonis, his firm gut, toned chest, and fur that looked softer than silk. Needless to say, I had a hard time looking away. Aldrich didn't seem to notice my stare, as he went and popped a few more pieces of wood into the stove to last us the night, biting my tongue a bit before I popped wood as well. I want to take my shirt off. I should. It's just a shirt. What's the big deal if I do? I kept thinking to myself, yet every fiber of my upbringing was yelling at me to keep it on. Storm should clear out before sunrise. We should get some sleep if you want to make it to work on time tomorrow. Aldrich cocked a brow at the sight of me holding the bottom of my shirt, frozen stiffer than a statue, unable to actually move my hands upwards. You can keep it on, if that would make you feel more comfortable. No, it's okay. It's just a shirt. I'm being dumb. You're not being dumb. It's not your fault how you were raised, but it's your life now. The shepherd turned to look me straight in the eyes, an encouraging, heartfelt, and strangely longing expression on his face. You make the calls. Hesitantly, I pulled my shirt off, dragging it out for an excruciating amount of time, as with each passing inch I had to resist the renewed urge to immediately tug it back down. Aldrich let out a noticeable huff after I finally tossed my shirt off, his tail wagging rapidly back and forth, crossing my arms over my chest, too nervous to make eye contact. You go first. Aldrich took one last sip of the soda before crawling into bed, leaving the blanket pulled back for me to get in. He was facing me with a smile, trying to be as inviting as possible. Every nervous step I made towards the bed was a little faster than the last, my desire to be pressed up against him slowly outweighing the fear of repercussions. The spring in the mattress squeaked as I climbed in. I pressed my back firmly to the canine, long tail draped over the shepherd's hip. There wasn't an inch to spare. If either of us moved to make more room, we'd fall to the floor. Aldrich soon pulled the blanket over us and nuzzled into his pillow. Good night, Cody. Sweet dreams. As I lay there, staring across the room to the glow of the wood fire stove, I found it hard to sleep, my mind filled with thoughts of the shepherd. Hugging was one thing, but now pressed so closely together, I couldn't pay attention to anything else. Even though he was still in his pants, the firmness of his bulge under my tail was impossible to ignore. I bit my lip in an attempt to distract myself. I was picturing what I wouldn't even be allowed to picture, the thought of his paw exploring my body, the way he'd probably make excited whimpers, his sniffs as we got more familiar with each other. Trembling next to him, I kept wondering what would happen if I rolled over to face the shepherd, like closing my eyes and fantasizing that I was burying my face into his bare chest. My whiskers twitched, taking in a deep breath, imagining his scent filling me completely, leaving me shaking like a leaf as he dragged his claws softly down the length of my back. Smiling, blushing at the thought of him whispering sweet nothings in my ear, how he'd let out a hearty huff as he slipped his paw into my pants. I couldn't deny how deeply I was attracted to his looks, his personality, but I didn't want to make things weird between us. I was even terrified of how he would react if he found out about the way that I kept thinking about him, stealing glances when he wasn't looking. I'd known almost as soon as I hit puberty that my eyes were drawn to men. No matter how much I tried to convince myself otherwise, they always wandered back to any guy in a room with me. Never Tobin and Liam, though. I didn't see them that way, but most other guys that I ran across made my body shiver. Why am I so scared, still fighting myself? I don't want to be scared anymore. I just want to be me. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of sheets of rain against the glass and the crackling of the fire managed to lull me to sleep. Groggily, I opened my eyes. The sound of the storm winds had really picked up, occasionally rattling the windows of the tower. The cabin was rather cold now, barely any glow from the nearby extinguished wood stove. Crawling out of bed, I wandered over and grabbed a few pieces of wood, dropping them onto the last barely burning pieces of timber. Glancing out into the dark tree line, I noticed that the rain had all but stopped. Just a small drizzle now, still enough to clouds in the sky to blot out the stars and the moon. Then, there was a lull in the winds, and my ears twitched, a ghostly whistle filling the void. Cautiously, I stepped outside onto the walkway, trying to pinpoint where the sound was coming from. The night was frigid, any summer warmth from the day prior completely taken away by the storm front. Just as I thought about heading back to bed, I noticed a faint lamplight amongst the trees. The whistling grew louder, a faint tune, one that seemed familiar and beloved by its player. Transfixed, I slowly made my way down the stairs, setting my bare paws on the soaked floor. Mindlessly heading towards the lamplight in the tree line, the whistling tune grew clearer, and I even found myself starting to hum along. Each new verse I joined halfway through, as if only half remembering the lyrics of a familiar song. Standing just at the edge of the tree line, I looked straight at the glow of the lamp, which seemed just as far here as it did from the top, the tower. Is someone out there? The moment I asked, the lamplight went out, leaving me in the forest, in darkness once again. Even though the whistling was gone, what returned in its place was a growing realization that I was only half dressed, wet from rain, and turning into a popsicle. Hurriedly, yet carefully, I climbed back up the tower, taking a moment to shake off extra water, wipe my feet, and finally crawl back into the bed. Sleep came faster this time, and I drifted off without even a second thought of the lamplight or the strange tune. Come morning, I was the first awake, eyes opening to find that Aldrich had an arm wrapped around over me, his muzzle pressed into the scruff of my neck. With how slow his breaths were, I knew for sure that he was still asleep. Having that strong grip around me felt safe, in a different way from how his hugs felt. As more of the night's sleep wore off, I realized there was a dampness in my crotch, and I was instantly wide awake, panic breaths, as the situation became increasingly clear. Slowly, I moved a paw down and drew back the blanket a little to check the front of my pants. Sharing a bed with the shepherd had clearly given me my first wet dream in over a year, and I couldn't even remember what it had been about. Though I didn't want Aldrich to know that I had, the mere thought of it was mortifying. Slowly, I moved an arm and grasped at his paw. As I tried to lift it so that I could pull free, his grip grew stronger, holding me more firmly against him, his fingers spreading to have a wider grasp over my chest. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Please, no. Holding my breath, I carefully took hold of his wrist again, lifting more firmly than my first attempt. It seemed to be working. Wiggling my way free, bit by bit, slowly replacing where I have been with the pillow that I have been using that night. When I finally managed to slip free, Aldrich rolled over, still clutching my pillow, burying his face into it. There was a clear dark spot around the crotch of my pants. Even though most of the fabric seemed slightly damp, still I had to do something to hide it before he woke up. Frantically looking around the cabin, I grabbed a roll of paper towels and ripped off a few sheets, furiously rubbing them into the fabric trying to dry the dark spot, though it had little effect. Just stand outside. The sun will dry it. Pulling on my shirt, just as I opened the door, Aldrich shifted a little in the bed, but soon settled back down, still cuddling my pillow. Finally, standing in enough direct sunlight, I stretched the fabric out as much as I could, praying that the spot would show some mercy and disappear already. As I took in the beauty of the forest, waking for the day, I caught a sight of a muddy paw print on the catwalk, looking down to see my paw still a little dirty. Did I go outside last night? Aldrich was soon up after I was, joining me on the walkway, stretching his arms out to the sky, letting out a rather loud yawn. Fixating my eyes on the fact that his nose was twitching, I grew nervous, wondering if he could smell the evidence of the wet dream. Morning, Cody. Did you sleep all right? Morning, yeah. Was kinda nice, actually. It's even quieter here than the town, or it was at least. That's one of the perks of living in my camper, right on the edge of the forest, getting to enjoy nights and mornings just like this one. There was no denying the beauty of the sounds of nature, like the plethora of beautiful birdsong or the crisp morning wind blowing through the trees, completely untainted by the chaotic noise of modern society. If someone put a cup of coffee in my paw, a place to sit, and this forest, they'd have a very happy shepherd. Maybe I should keep that in mind. The shepherd braced his paws on the railing, leaning over some to look down at the ground, while my eyes wandered down to his backside, admiring the way his tail had lifted a bit. Stop it. You're gonna make stuff weird. So, you think it's safe to drive back to town? Should be. My truck can get through anything. Just better to have as much light as possible when the conditions get sketchy. Just, let me reset the tower, and we can head out. While Aldrich dealt with the more official duties, I set about unmaking the bed back to the way that it was, packing out our trash from the night and carrying things back down to the truck, grateful that my pants had dried enough for him not to notice. That's what you think. Soon enough, we were back on the trail, and it had been the right call staying the night. A small chunk of the trail had washed out, and it took careful maneuvering to get by. Seeing the forest in the dawnlight with the shimmering coat of rainfall gave an entirely new beauty to it, transforming it in a way that would make it feel like yet another entirely separate world. So, what do you think about the park? It's gorgeous. More than I could have ever imagined. There's so much history to it, so many stories that I could come up with about it. Well, anytime that you want to head back in, just let me know. Plenty of secrets here for you to see. Aldrich stopped briefly at the entrance booth, letting the ranger know about the washout trail before setting back to town. By the time that we have gotten back to the video den, just over an hour had passed. It was hard to believe just how little time separated the town from the wilds. I'll be pretty busy most of this coming week. Think we both will be with the school starting. Yeah, and I gotta settle into work. Vincent wants me to open the store myself later this week. At least there is no summer camp bus this time. Oh, I'm really glad that you're here to stay. With his ears perked, that confident smile and the heavy thumping of his tail on the bench seat, my heart warmed. Though my love for New Orleans would never lessen, I couldn't deny how quickly I was coming to enjoy Aspen Hollow and how swiftly fleeting any desire to leave had become. When Aldrich brought the truck to a stop outside the video den, he grabbed a pencil and scribbled 2 numbers on a napkin. That one is a campground. The other is the store. Call me anytime that you want, okay? I will, as long as it's no bother. For you, Cody, nothing is a bother. Climbing out of his truck, I grabbed my purchase from the college, fishing around in the bag for my keyring. Aldrich glanced over at me with a smile. Hey, ask Vinny if you can have Thursday night off, alright? What for? Misty and her band have a gig in the Cedar Valley. Figured that we could go. What do you say? Yeah, I'd love to meet her finally and hear her band live. Alright then, just drop me a message if you get the night off and I'll pick you up at 5 on Thursday. See you later, Otter. Bye, Aldrich. Thank you again for the trip. Aldrich drove off and I disappeared into my apartment. I still had an hour before my shift, enough time to catch a shower. I was quick to set down all my school purchases and stick a copy of my class schedule to the fridge with a magnet, soon slipping into the shower. With a heavy sigh, I let my head rest against the cold subway tile walls as the warm water ran down my back, eyes fixating on the swirling vortex going down the drain. Trying my best to let the water wash away the worries starting to swarm my head now that I had nobody to hide them from. What the heck is wrong with me? Just say it. I'm gay. The words mere whispers, barely even audible to myself over the sound of the running water, still looking at the ground like a defeated pup. I'm gay. I spoke louder than the first time, lifting my head slightly, a hearty sigh escaping my maw as I continued to bolster myself into admitting the truth. He's not my paw anymore. I'm gay. I'm gay, and I'm... Paws clenched into fists. I hunched over, resting my head against the tile, fresh tears rolling down my muzzle. I couldn't get the last words out. Calling myself that felt like a leap of faith I'd fail at. The mere thought of the word made my back burn, just like my paw's belt. I'm gay. That's all that matters. Rest of it, well, I'll figure it out as I go. He's not here. I am. And I'm not going to hide anymore. A wave of strangely sorrow-filled joy washed over me, my legs shaking so much that I ended up sitting in the bottom of the tub, sobbing into my paws. Just the thought of finally letting myself truly live free at long last unleashed so many emotions at once that I hardly knew what to do with myself. I wasn't sure how long it had taken for the crying to stop, but eventually I stood up, dried off, and got dressed for work, feeling a hint of relief, ready to just be me. No more hiding. Good morning, pup. Morning, Vinny. It's a new promo today, right? Indeed it is. Running a new membership campaign for all the students coming into town. Free snack pack with the sign-up and first rental. Nodding, I grabbed the box of pastels and headed outside to whip up a little design on the chalkboard to lure people in. As I sketched out the promotion, I began to whistle a gentle tune, some earworm that lingered in the back of my head. My ears raising to the sound of the bell of the door, Vinny stepped out to see what I'd worked out. The board read, AHU Student Special, along with a stylized drawing of a few students gathered in a dorm room enjoying a few snacks. Free snack pack with first rental, written out in a fun mixed font below the drawing. Vincent's ears were perked, glancing at me with That same curious look that I so frequently caught on his face, seemingly looking beyond just the otter standing in front of him. That's a nice little tune. Come up with it yourself? Not sure. Probably heard it on the radio somewhere. It got stuck in my head. It's rather pleasing. A little tune to pass the hours while working alone. I don't know. It kind of sounds longing to me. Like they're waiting for someone to come home. How do you mean, pup? Whistling out the tune once more, a little louder than before, head gently bobbing as I mused over its intent. The notes, a strangely haunting melody, perhaps a lover waiting for their mate to return home from a war, maybe a mother mourning the absence of their child gone away. Whatever it was, felt like a pained longing to be reunited and a waning sense of hope. Can't really say, just how it feels to me. Vincent's gaze narrowed for a moment before letting out a deep, hearty chuckle, gently patting me on the shoulder. Well, it's nice. If you figure out the name of the song, be a good pup and let old Vinny know. The pair of us headed back inside to end up tending to a fairly quiet shift that morning. When lunchtime came around, Vincent disappeared into the back rooms for a bit. Helping a few customers on my own was really becoming second nature to me. I was already getting better at figuring out which customers wanted to chat casually about films and which just wanted to get back on their way. The wolf soon returned, setting down 2 bowls of a rather refreshing-looking salad, each accompanied by a rather plump pickle. Man, these look great. Where'd you fetch them from? From my greenhouse. Thought that you might enjoy a nice fresh selection. Taking a bite of the pickle, I was met with an intense spicy garlic kick, eyes going wide from the flavor and satisfying crunch. Vincent gave a knowing chuckle to my reaction. Made those as well. Figured someone from New Orleans would appreciate the heat. I'll have to return the favor sometime. A proper Cajun meal for you, sir. Though, I might have to get a ride to the city to find some okra. No need, pup. How'd you like a little plot in my greenhouse? Could spend a little quality time together, and I'm sure growing your own veg would help your wallet during college. You serious, Vinny? I'd love that. As excited as I was over having a place to garden again, it would have been an understatement to say how badly I wanted to learn more about Vincent. Our conversations during work were mostly about movies, my art, and filmmaking interests, so I wasn't going to pass up a chance to get to know a little bit more about Vincent off the clock. Sounds like you've gardened before. We had a back garden in New Orleans, mostly just flowers and hedges. Sure, my pa made me take care of it, but it was my little escape from him. Long as I was out there working, I didn't have to think about him. Vincent gave a nod, listening with clear interest while he finished off his salad. So, nothing edible fruits, veg, herbs even? Of course, we had some herbs, nothing else that you could eat though. When's your first class? I set down the bowl and pulled out another copy of my class schedule, offering it over to Vincent. Tomorrow afternoon and all day Tuesday. I've got you opening on Wednesday and working Thursday. I'll tell you what, why don't you make me a little list of plants that you want to grow, and I'll see about picking up some seeds and sprouts if I can find them. Then Friday morning, bright and early, I'll give you a lift over to my house, and we can get started on your garden. That sounds just swell. Oh, I almost forgot to ask. Would it be okay for me to leave at 4 on Thursday? Aldrich wants to take me to see Misty's band in the city. Yeah, that's fine, pup. Sounds like a plan. I'm excited to garden again. By the time that we finished our lunch, customers were starting to show up more frequently. Word was definitely starting to spread about the new promotion. I was hardly left with enough time to even focus on how excited I was to spend more time with Aldrich and a chance to get to know more of who Vincent was. The wolf was still such a mystery to me, and what his life was outside the shop, what drove him. Maybe I'd even work up the confidence to ask why I kept catching him staring at me so much. And that is the end of the second update. So, What did you guys think? Hopefully you saw the other previous portion so you could get some context as to how wow, I already forgot his name. As to how the otter felt when he saw the elk again. My guess is he's just like that type of person who is very kind of snobby. If I recall correctly, because it was a while ago, he does have something to do with the town, though. And he does have a prejudice for otters. So maybe it's not otter specifically, but somebody in his past that was an otter that colored his well, the way that he thinks about otters. The whole little sequence with the fire tower reminded me of the game that I played, which is a horror game called Fears to Fathom. It's not the Northwood Hitchhike, is it? No, that's not it. Ironwood Lookout. Ironwood Lookout, where, you know, it's supposed to be like a true story where you're somebody that works at a park called Ironwood, but I mean, obviously that's not the real name of the park because you have to change it. And it's your job to, you know, watch for fires and whatnot. And while you're there, you end up spotting some people doing some weird stuff in the woods, and then they chase you, and then you have to leave, but nobody believes you that it happened. But anyways, but yeah, that reminded me of that. It's like, oh, by the way, you guys did not close the shutters when you were going to sleep, because you're supposed to close the shutters before you go to sleep. That entire time I was thinking that. What else? I mean, I guess that's it. It's nice to get the explanation as to why Aldrich's letters stopped. And I mean, it was obvious now that you think about it that that it wasn't that he just forgot or something like that happened. It's that his father was intercepting the letters. He might have also been going through the letters beforehand, and then maybe Aldrich said something that did not jive with his father, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna let my son speak to this guy, this kid that he, you know, met at summer camp, so I'm gonna rip up the letters and then, you know, just stopped giving them. It is sad though that he stopped sending the letters though. The otter, why am I forgetting his name? I don't know. Because I mean, it would make sense, because it's like, if the guy's not writing you back, then, you know, why are you not writing, or do you continue to write back? Because he did continue to write back for a while, but then he just stopped. So like, yeah. Anyways, so what else? Also nice to meet a new character. Yeah, no, we could bring them up. The sprites. Nice to finally meet Devon. I didn't know what voice to give him, so it was just whatever came out. Nice to see that there is another Doberman. You know, there was Chad from Home Somewhere Else. Then there's this guy, but there's another Doberman, isn't there? Oh no, Raoul is a Rottweiler. There's another Doberman in Maruk from Roads Yet Traveled. So there's 3 Dobermans that I know of in a visual novel. Leonard the elk, Liam, Tobin, Vincent. Vincent, at least the way he's dressed and the way his like the beard, hair, fur looks, he reminds me of a teacher that I had for an elective class, which was dealing with like multimedia, like computers, videos, and stuff like that. And like, I could picture him with that voice. But like, the teacher was also kind of like mean, so like it's only like the appearance reminds me of this teacher. So in my head, he has that voice. He has I don't know how to like make the voice, but in my head he has that voice. Then there's goofy little Aldrich. At first, the goofiness kind of irked me. Because, like, if you look at it, like, the eye patches, the cream colored in the eye patches, and his eyes, the way he looks at you, makes him look so goofy. This is the only face that doesn't look goofy. The ones where he has, like, his, like, eyes open like that, it just makes him look kind of goofy. I did not know what a sable German Shepherd was until I heard that the first time. And then I ended up seeing one in person. Anyways, so what else? What else do we have to talk about? Their little sleep. It's obvious that Aldrich really, really, really likes Cody. Yeah. A Polaroid. I have a Polaroid camera, an old one. So I mean, it's not obvious to Cody because, you know, he's a newly out gay, so he wouldn't notice the fact that this guy is literally into him. He's giving him his goofy little love eyes, and he's getting overprotective whenever Cody has self-deprecating like thoughts. So like come on, dude, come on. So yeah, I mean, even like right here, come on. He grabbed the pillow thinking that it was you because it probably smells like you, and he's wagging his tail, like, obviously. Anyways, also when they got up here, I thought, I was like, dude, you guys, if you fail, you're gonna fall really high. Again, close the shutters. When there is nobody in a Firewatch tower, the shutters are supposed to be closed. There's supposed to be shutters too, because it is very dangerous, especially when it rains or when it's really windy. It could break the windows. That's why they have shutters. That's the one thing that's missing in these images in the bottom. There's no shutters. Anyways, I wonder about this crack. If it is intentional, especially with like the moon, like going down the crack in the mountain. Maybe like the whole valley was an extinct volcano, and you know, this is what happened. Although if it was a volcano, like literally more than just the crack would be gone. It is interesting how I think it was Aldrich that said that it's like was it Aldrich or was it Cody that said that it's like a claw going down, like scratching it. And then what's the deal with the whistling? I suppose those are things that are going to be eventually explored. The sketch of the coin. But yeah, this is the original concept sketch that was drawn by God, what's his name? I forgot his name. I follow him on Twitter. But yeah, original concept sketch. But yeah, anyways, so yeah. No, write down in the comments what you think so far. And channel members. Ooh, look at you guys on the bottom again. Yeah, thank you guys all. I know there's a lot more people now because every single time that I have to render the channel members little scrolling thing, it keeps adding more and more to the point where I think it's up to like a minute now. So there's a lot of people who have thankfully subscribed as channel members and who are directly supporting me, I guess you could say. And I am very, 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 very thankful. Like, yeah, I'm very thankful. Like I really should just like, I don't know. Let's just say I'm very thankful. You guys are in a way telling me like, yeah, we love your content here. We want to directly support you. And like, yay, they're supporting me directly. And I really appreciate that. And like, you're making, I guess in a way, making these videos possible. The production of these videos possible. You allowed me to buy some things that I wanted to buy, like to upgrade the version of the video editor that I have from the free version to the paid version. So now I use DaVinci Resolve Studio. Ooh. And some other stuff. But yeah, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And everyone else also thank you, for watching the video. If you're not already subscribed, then subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. It means a lot. It actually helps the video get, seen more, apparently. That's what I keep being told, that, like, oh, if people give it a thumbs up and stuff, then, it helps with the algorithm so more people see your stuff. Anyways, but yeah, so, yeah. Thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Northern Lights yourself or stay up to date with it or whatever, I will be posting down in the description the Twitter page as well as the Blue Sky page, which should have direct links, hopefully, to the HIO page where you can download Northern Lights and play it, or you can just go to Northern Lights you can just go to HIO yourself and download it from there. And I will also be posting down a link for their Patreon in case you want to support the project, which should give you early access to builds of Northern Lights as well as probably some behind the scenes stuff. So you'll know where the story is heading before everyone else. So yeah. Also, all other, like my coffee and other stuff is also linked down in the description. So yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.